welcome you here for the rededication of our memorial to fallen educators. This idea came about 3 or 4 years ago after the Sandy Hook episode, and we all decided at the Hall of Fame that something had to be done to memorialize the people who are heroes in our classroom. Of course, all teachers are heroes, but these are especially heroes because of what they've given their lives for the children in their schools. They've laid over their bodies to keep them from harm. They've sheltered them from all kinds of different stories. And something else that we have this year is a new kiosk where you can read those stories. So what Carol's going to tell you more about that. So I do want to welcome you from the Board of Trustees, and I will introduce you to Carol Strickland. She is the Executive Director for the Hall of Fame.
I want to thank you for being here today to help us celebrate some very special lives. And as Lindy said, the National Teachers Hall of Fame here in Emporia, Kansas has worked very hard to try to create a memorial for those people who went above and beyond. And we stole the line, killed in the line of duty. They lost their lives doing what they loved, and that was working with America's school children. And so I'm going to trace the history of this memorial site for you after you have a welcome to Emporia State University campus from our Dean of the Teachers College, Dr. Ken Weaver.
I would like just to take a minute and have you listen. Even when we have student groups, families, vacationers who come by, oftentimes to visit the one-room schoolhouse, officially designated as a museum. When they come to this space, this is what they hear. This is hallowed ground. How the folks who did this, how Carol was able to do this, how the inductees of the National Teachers Hall of Fame were able to do this, I don't know, but it is hallowed space. It is very, very special. Every day, when I come to work, I drive past this space, reminded of the sacrifices that these whom we honor make, but also mindful of the responsibility that we have to ensure that we are preparing the best teachers and other educators that we possibly can. That's the only way, in my view, it's the only way that we can really say thank you to these folks for the sacrifice that they've made. And it's not only about this memorial, it's about honoring the profession of teaching. It's about inducting the new class of 5, which will bring us to 120 inductees, members of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. It's a special place, and Emporia State and Emporia are special places as well. So it's very fitting to put this right here. And so the university and the Teachers College, and in fact, when you look at educator preparation and teacher preparation at Emporia State, the whole campus is involved in preparing teachers. It is something very special and something that we've been doing for 152 years. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all, and congratulations to the class of inductees. I see a couple of former inductees. It's fabulous to have you back. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. If you have not ever observed or viewed the recording of last year's dedication, then I encourage you to do that. It is available online. You can find it, and it is it's a very, very touching. So be prepared to have some wet eyes as you hear all these names being read, and family members of a number of these folks were here reading the names of their loved ones, placing roses at the base of the memorial. So on behalf of the university and on behalf of the Teachers College, thank you all so much.
And some of the people, so I made some very copious notes so I don't forget anything. 2 years ago on this very day, the class of 2013 broke ground for what was a dream of the National Teachers Hall of Fame. And that was a tribute, as Lindy referenced, to the 6 educators who died at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut in December of 2012. followed that next month in January by Chuck Collins' death in Alabama when he was trying to protect children on his school bus. They were all educators who loved what they were doing, and yet they gave their lives. So our inductees, our board just said we need to do something. And the idea was to construct a tribute of some sort, maybe a granite book and a bench or something like that along those trees. And we actually broke ground a little bit west of here and just had some little gold shovels, and it was ceremonial. We had no idea what was going to happen at that time. But 1 year later, last year on June 12th, the class of 2014 did the memorial dedication ceremony, and that's the one that Ken referenced that's on our website. At that time, we had what you see today. We've had some additions, but it was a dream that became a reality. And it was because of the vision and the artistry and the hard work and the generosity. We had hundreds of people across the country making contributions. We had corporations, we had foundations coming forward to help us, because nothing like this exists in the nation other than in Emporia, Kansas. And we had visionaries like Dr. Michael Schonrock here at Emporia State University. We had Mark Runge and Rich Jensen and the facilities and maintenance crews here at ESU dedicating their time and energy to us. We had people like Justin and John Mallon from Evergreen Design and Build stepping forward saying, we want to be a part of this. And what we thought of as a book and a bench became what you see today. The limestone, the quarry that cooperated with us, 29 feet of signage so that you can see it from the interstate, lighting that lights up at night that is so beautiful, the newest addition, the recessed lighting for the books, the kiosks I'm going to talk about in a minute. These things are continuing to grow and to happen. As we get more money, more contributions, we're going to make it grow. And there's a gentleman here today who was very instrumental in what you see in terms of the design. And Keith, would you stand please? Keith Wallace. East Central Monument in Lebo. I taught with his wife Carrie for a long time, so he loves teachers, and he jumped on board immediately. He got a quarry all the way in Georgia, really excited about what we were doing. So the design of the book is his. And the design of the benches came from that quarry who really bought into what we were doing. And they kind of said, you need an apple because it's for educators. And so all of these things just came together like the perfect storm. We have donors recognized here on the pavers, on the benches, on the memorial wall. And the focus, of course, is on these names. Last year, we had 113 names that were dedicated and memorialized at that time in June. Ruth Ann Buck, who is with the U.S. Department of Education as the Deputy Secretary and Advisor to Arnie Duncan, had a very famous statement, and I agreed totally with her. And she said, I'd like to take my finger and draw a line under Colleen Ritzer's name, who died October 23rd, 2013, and say, no more names will be added. No more school violence, no more tragedies in our nation's schools. And we all nodded, yes, let's make that happen. And unfortunately, today, a year later, we're adding 2 names. Those individuals you're going to read about in a few minutes and hear about, their names are added and we pay tribute to them. We're sad to say goodbye to them. And both of them involve school bus accidents. And the irony is both of them happened because of inattentive drivers causing that school bus to take the life of 2 of our educators. So it's a message to America that educators put themselves on the line. And every day when they go to work, they do much more than what's in their contract. And oftentimes they're that first line of defense for our students. At the conclusion of today's ceremony, we're going to invite you to go to the one-room schoolhouse, and the air conditioner is on, so you can enjoy that. You can also read the names engraved on the books. We now have a total of 115, sadly, after today. You can look at the donors' names on the pavers, on the benches, over on the memorial wall. You can also, hopefully, go over to our kiosk. And I want to pay special tribute to ESB Financial. And Karen Summers, would you stand, please? Karen has been so instrumental. Karen, in her brother Jim Wayman from ESP Financial wanted to do something to honor 3 women in their family, and they are all ESU graduates, and they were all teachers. Their names were Evelyn James Lutz, Melva Lee James Ingers, and Elva Lee James Wayman. And so to the Wayman James family, I want to say thank you. We're very grateful for the addition of this kiosk, because this allows us to tell the stories. This is open 24/7, and sometimes at sunset I will come by and see people sitting here and just kind of meditating, or they do a walk, and this is where they stop and rest for a moment. Now they can read the stories of every individual who's up here. So if you see in Texas when 9 educators died on the same day, you can read the story of the natural gas leak that caused that explosion. You can read about the 3 sisters at the Catholic school who died in a fire because they didn't get word that they were supposed to evacuate. You can read the stories of those people from Newtown, Connecticut who gave their lives for their students. So our thanks for this kiosk. So now, anytime anyone comes here, they can know the stories. There's also a guest book, and so they can sign in, they can make comments, they can tell us where they're from and what they think about our memorial. They can also make a donation if they want to. If they're moved by what they see, they like to donate to PayPal. All of this is made possible by the technology provided by ESP Financial, and we're truly grateful for it. So, we're going to move ahead to today's ceremony, and you have in your hand a program that identifies 2 very special people that we have lost. Their obituaries are included, along with a list of all 115 names that are now on our memorial wall. I would like to use Ruth Ann Buck's name and say next year, when we come back to rededicate in 2016, hopefully we'll be here just to celebrate these 115 and not have to add any more. So keep that in your prayers and in your thoughts. We've given everybody a ribbon today. We used these last year, and we've made the promise that we're going to remember these lives and pay tribute to them now and in the future. And we ask you to wear these ribbons wherever you go, and if somebody asks you about them, tell them it's for those 115 educators who gave the greatest sacrifice for their students. So that's your promise, to help remember them and keep their legacy alive today and in the future. The first person we're going to honor today is Kimberly Wester Riddle. She was a teacher's aide at Sunnyview Primary School in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was on the school bus on the afternoon of December 2nd of last year, going home with students to help them get on and off the bus. But something went horribly wrong when another school bus weaved into them and collided with the bus on which she was traveling. And I was contacted today by Mary Scott of the TV station in Knoxville. They've done the investigation, and they found that the other bus driver who caused her death was texting and driving a school bus. And so that investigation is probably going to be a national story in the future. She sensed danger when her school bus was sliding across the highway, and she instinctively threw herself over some of her students to protect them. And her husband was quoted as saying, well, that's who she was. She loved her students. And I think we say that about probably every educator who is up here. She had just finished her coursework and was preparing to take the test to become a full licensed teacher in that district when she was killed. The district was shaken when her life was cut short, and her loss was felt throughout the Knoxville community. So today we pay tribute, and I'm asking Shirley Naples, who is a member of our inaugural class of 1992, to come forward and lay a rose in Kimberly Wester Riddle's name. The second name that we're honoring today is Sharon Beard Hood, who had been a school bus driver for over 27 years for the Pickens County school system in Reform, Alabama. On April 10th of this year, she lost her life while driving students home from school when an inattentive SUV driver ran a stop sign, high rate of speed, crashed into the bus, and she instinctively kept them from going into oncoming traffic, but sadly crashed into a tree, taking her life. Children were injured in the accident, but again, I think her first reaction was the same as Kimberly's, and that is to protect the children on board. The entire community in Reform and Carrollton, Alabama mourned her loss, and her obituary is included in the program today. I'm asking Anna Alfiro, who is also a member of the inaugural class of 1992, to lay a rose in memory of Sharon Hood. Is from Connecticut, and so she has an attachment to the Newtown names that are listed. I'd like to ask our 5 inductees for the class of 2015 to now bring the commemorative memorial wreath to lay between the books. Our inductees this year are Dr. Pat Jordan from New York, New York, Rich Onyebeni from Fairport, New York, Sue Rippey from Olathe, Kansas, Ben Talley from Bristol, Virginia, and Bridget Tennis from Redmond, Washington. We can have a moment of silence or a moment of prayer for the 115 names that are listed here. Thank you. This is the conclusion of the ceremony. We didn't want to make it long because it's so hot out here, but we invite you to stay around if you want to go to the one-room schoolhouse, if you want to walk around, if you'd like to take pictures, if you would like to meet our inductees, and especially go to our kiosk, sign the guest book, and I'd like to ask Karen Summers to be the first one to touch it and activate it so that we can make sure that it's working properly. Thank you all for what you do for education. Thank you to all of you who've been a part of what we're doing, and we commit this ground, as Kim says, from ESU and from the National Teachers Hall of Fame to preserve the memory and tell the stories of these unsung heroes. So thank you so much.